Calradia breeds many flavours of infantry, but none are quite as celebrated or feared as the Vlandian foot soldier. A chainmail-clad bundle of rage and aggression, they are equally adept at holding the line to defend or cracking skulls just for the fun of it. In sufficient numbers, these deranged warriors can even give the most seasoned army the old code brown. Observe as these mentally defective farm animals evolve into PTSD-ridden murder machines, some choosing the shield, others the pike, and the rest compensating for deep personal issues with a very large stick. Come with me as we delve into the short but colourful life of the Vlandian Infantry. As with all prospects to the Vlandian military, this particular species begins life as a recruit. Drawn from the villages and towns with at least one spare idiot, these specimens, having proven no other use, are offered up by the nobles of the land to satisfy the ever-growing tithe to the Vlandian army. Dressed in little more than a potato sack and armed with a wooden mace, they possess the combat proficiency of a dead tree, and barely the wits to follow basic commands. The recruits are deployed en masse, where higher-ranked soldiers observe and select those displaying a rare affinity for killing for promotion and further training. Those who show no proficiency for combat serve a simpler yet equally vital role, some as distraction units or convenient arrow collection devices. The life expectancy of a recruit is comically low, 2 to 3 days in an active campaign, up to 20 minutes in a castle siege, or 30 seconds in a particularly lively bar fight. Those few that survive this culling advance to the next stage of their peculiar development. From the pool of hapless recruits, a few specimens demonstrate enough promise to ascend to the rank of footman. This species, now judged marginally more valuable, is equipped with a crude spear, a sharpened lump of iron often mistaken for a sword, and a shield fashioned from leftover scraps. Draped in garments intended to mimic armour, the footman advances to the front line with a misplaced sense of pride and capability. In times of war, their life expectancy ranges anywhere from a single week to, on rare occasions, 2 full months. Those displaying comprehension skills and communications exceeding that of a goat may attract further investment, and with it, the faintest chance of survival. By this stage, some have already begun developing the 1,000-yard stare. Most commonly directed at a pile of dung or a passing cloud, is at this stage that we start to see the dependence on ale to drown out the voices, with flagons of mead being used not only as a nightly sleep aid, but also a primitive form of therapy. Life as a footman is brutal and often short. Those that survive truly start to master the Vlandian art of war. It's from this narrow pool that the next tier of Vlandian spearmen is drawn. A rare subset of footmen who survive more than a fortnight ascend to the rank of spearmen. Now equipped with genuine weapons, light armour, and a helmet fashioned from actual metal, the loss of such a specimen registers to their lord as a minor expense and a mild inconvenience. By this stage, the infantryman has endured open field battles, siege assaults, and woodland skirmishes alike. Killing is no longer merely encouraged, it has become the means by which he secures food and a dry place to sleep. Observers may note his tendency to stare blankly into the distance, or weep silently both on and off the battlefield. Despite a questionable fixation on wine and ale, these individuals have become tried and true soldiers, forming the weary backbone of the Vlandian army. Commanders have also noted that, left unsupervised, the infantry are prone to hitting trees, each other, and occasionally themselves. Those who endure still further may ascend to an even deadlier form. Surviving the ranks of spearmen, our infantry has 2 potential paths. The first is a peculiar subspecies, the Billmen, who has decided that wielding an overgrown farm tool is preferable to carrying a sword and shield. Their hookbill, a contraption more suited to trimming trees than fighting men, is nonetheless deadly to both horse and rider, capable of opening an opponent like a particularly grim pinata. The weapon's reach grants the Billmen rare moments of glory, but at a cost. Too heavy for comfort and too awkward for prolonged combat, it forces its wielder to abandon the protective chain and shield of its better equipped cousins. Thus the Billman is often found loitering behind them, waiting for a chance to bring his hookbill crashing down, with the enthusiasm that borders on unholy glee. Unfortunately, what the Billman gains in spectacle, he loses in survival. Without a shield, clad in thinner armour, and incapable of withstanding concentrated missile fire, his encounters with archers tend to end swiftly and badly. From the ranks of the Billmen emerges the Pikeman, a creature so consumed by its hatred of horses that it trades the hookbill for an even longer stick. Now clad in heavier armour, it braces for the inevitable: the sudden arrival of several hundred kilograms of horse and rider flying directly at its face. When deployed in ranks, the pikeman can reduce even the proudest cavalry charge into a tangle of impaled livestock and screaming nobles. Yet this hyper-specialization comes at a cost. A pike is a laughably poor weapon in close combat, and against skirmishing cavalry, horse archers, the pikeman is little more than a tall, pointy target. Their existence is an endless game of chicken, one lance and one pike, hurtling towards each other at speed. Sometimes the polearm strikes true. Sometimes the pikeman simply dies. Some Billmen develop a taste for gratuitous violence, addicted to the wet slap of cleaved flesh and the hollow crunch of crushed bone. For their efforts, they are rewarded with heavier chain and a new weapon, the Voulge. This formidable polearm is a step up from the hookbill, a cleaving blade capable of liberating limbs from their owners, paired with a pointed tip designed to remind cavalry that rapid blood loss is both possible and probable. Yet with versatility comes compromise. The Voulgier can maul infantry and repel horsemen, but never as effectively as his specialised cousins. Against infantry, the sergeant excels. Against cavalry, the pikeman reigns supreme. Thus the Voulgier exists as a jack of two trades and a master of none. When faced with a storm of arrows, however, the Voulgier's potential evaporates. Unsupported, he's as useful as a sunbed in a blizzard. Those spearmen who decide not to go down the route of two-handed weapons and distinguish themselves through persistent killing and maiming may be invited to ascend to the rank of swordsmen. Now clad from head to toe in chainmail, their chances of survival are markedly improved, if only because they are marginally more difficult to perforate. Abandoning their spear in favour of a knightly arming sword, the swordsman enters the field as a more direct predator, his purpose refined to the singular act of cutting down infantry. By this stage he has learned to channel the incessant voices in his head into remarkable efficiency, striking with unnerving precision. Fear is no longer a factor. Indeed, most emotional responses have long since withered. What remains is a hollow creature, obsessed with ale, dismissive of hygiene, and dedicated only to the next fight. The act of sheathing their sword without stabbing themselves has become a daily triumph worthy of song. Yet, for the most resilient and most unstable, there is one final metamorphosis. Those who endure the crucible of war long enough, and who have watered the fields with sufficient blood, ascend to the rank of Vlandian sergeant. Clad in the finest armour and wielding the best weapons their lords can provide, these towering figures inspire both reverence and fear. Silent, obedient, and merciless, the sergeant is an efficient killing machine, executing orders without hesitation. Yet beneath the steel lies a creature riddled with trauma. Prone to violent outbursts and crippling episodes of despair, lords have long since learned to manage them like livestock, maintaining a delicate balance of alcohol, just enough to dull the rage, but not enough to impair function. The more enterprising commanders will even deny ale on the eve of battle, ensuring their sergeants greet the enemy in a frenzy of blind, murderous wrath. Alas, despite their prowess and dedication, whether by onager shot, arrow, sword or spear, it is rare indeed to find a retired infantryman most conclude their service face down in the mud, remembered not for glory, but their final contribution as fertilizer in Calradia's endless fields of war.